Well, welcome back. This is Gene Harm for part two of my Northeast Corridor, switching from Fresh Pond Yard up to Oak Point Yard, which is where we're at right now. And in this part two, we will take the train the rest of the way up. It's not too much further up from Oak Point Yard up to Hunts Point Yard, where we will have some switching to do. So Hunts Point Yard is one of the answers to my criticism of the CSX heavy haul, and that was, they had a yard to switch in, but there was no industries to drop off cars and do deliveries. And my thing has always been that train simulators have focused so much on passenger lines and going from station to station, or even with freight, just having hauling freight from 20 miles or 40 miles down the road to another yard, but not so much in doing local deliveries. And when you think about freight and deliveries, well, actually, when you think about trains overall, it's a logistics organization, moving goods from one place to another place. And a lot of times in modern day freight trains, they're really just moving the freight to distribution areas, and then trucks will take it to the final delivery points. But in years past, there was so much in industry spurs that would go off in a train car or a box car, or a freight car, or a tanker car. Even today, they still do these things, just not as much. These cars would go right to the facilities and drop off the goods right there and pick up goods. There goes another passenger AI down the road. So here we are. We've gone past the points, and to back now. We're backing the whole train up now to get down off the main line and down into the industry section. It's referred to as Hunts Point Yard, but Hunts Point Yard is really a whole series of spurs that go to the building. So, and what makes me happy to industries. Now, I know today, I was looking at this, in modern days, the railroad tracks are still there, but almost all these facilities here, and we're looking at the route map, so you can see all the spurs going down, each of these spurs having buildings alongside of them. But yeah, what I was going to say is, today actually, the railroad cars aren't really going down here as much to these buildings, because almost all these buildings now are serviced by tractor trailer trucks. And so if you do the Google map view of the Hunts Point Yard, you'll see tractor trailer trucks all over the place, almost at every door of these buildings. And as we back in a few minutes here, you're going to see the buildings and their doors. But I am so happy now that this is one of the answers that I wanted, was to be able to do switching and be able to do deliveries to doors of facilities and actual buildings that we can call industries. So we have this yard that we have buildings at, and we also have down at Oak Point, off to the side. Oak Point is a yard itself, as you saw, that we just came out of. But it also has spurs going down into the buildings, and those they may still be used for produce. I don't know. I know I currently live in Florida, and I know the juice train from CSX drives Tropicana juice from Bradenton, Florida, all the way up to, I think, New Jersey, and then from there it gets distributed to all the New York City area. So. That train is an interesting train. I'm doing a model railroad of it right now down in the kind of a local Florida section in N-scale modeling. But hopefully you enjoy me. I'm putting on the handbrake as we drop these two cars of looks like sheet plywood. Kind of could use all that plywood down in Florida this time of year for the hurricane season we're about to go through. So we'll uncouple this and drop these two cars off, and we have a long line of cars to deliver, so most of this part 2 will be dropping these individuals off. So that's what I actually enjoy doing, and I'm pleased to say that part so far they've given us a few different spurs to work with now, with Oak Point and Hunts Point for industries, and to move freight back and forth. So that's made me a little bit happy. And of course, I'm still looking forward. That's a flyby view. Hopefully you get an idea of all the cars we have to deliver today. So I'm still looking forward to more downloadable content. Maybe some in not so much city. Everything seems like everything we have. Well, not so much heavy haul. That's been pretty much mountainous and country. But something between that and all the city stuff that we've had over in the UK and Germany and now in New York City, if we can get something more suburban where we'd have branch lines and industries that are off the beaten path to deliver to, that would be quite nice, quite fun, and different. And I'm kind of hoping that, if Dovetail Games doesn't get to that individuals will be producing this kind of stuff as soon as they give us a route builder. And I don't know if a route builder is in the plan, but I did hear that they are certainly going to produce scenario builders pretty soon. So a scenario editor, I should say. As you can see for this, I have a workaround where I use the create profile to do different, create my own scenarios and come back to them over and over again with the last play. But there's got to be a better way. That's really a workaround. And so hopefully they'll have that scenario editor coming out, and that's what they say. And so I trust that we'll be seeing that maybe before the holidays this year, before the end of the year. So as of now, no route builder and no editor. But one of the other criticisms is, as far as freight goes. Oh, by the way, I wanted to show you that there's no trespassing gate. Most of the spurs that you saw on that map are on the other side of that gate, and we can't use those. That's kind of unfortunate. They put all these spurs in, and they're modeled, but we can't really deliver down there because you can't get past that gate. In fact, you can't walk past the gate. And I think I tried to do a flyover with the free cam, and it said that I don't know if any of you had done this, where you got to the end of the map and it says end of map or service or something, and then the game just kind of quits and brings you back to the main menu. So you can't get past the gate. So it's this has been fabulous, though. I'm having a lot of fun. You're watching me doing a lot of cuts, and now I cut away the back end of the train, and I'm going to take this group of tankers and cut the tankers off on its own spur and drop them off now. And so while I'm doing this, I'm doing the manual switching. I'm not even getting in the cab. You don't see cab view too. I'll get in the cab a little bit here so you can see some engineering view. But most of the time I'm on the back, riding the back of the train as the conductor, and enjoying the ride, enjoying the outdoors, and hearing the birds and all that stuff. And as I explained in previous videos, and also of course in part 1, I do this by using the third person view, which is camera number 3. And of course I pretend it's really first person and on the first person view of a conductor. This is actually not camera 3 right now. Yeah, it is. That's funny. You get that motion that the copper cars were going by, but really it was I'm riding the Tenku cars. So I am in camera view 3, and which is nice because you can put the camera point anywhere you want and rotate your head around. And so that's really what I enjoy, is using this view as a conductor view. I can get out, I can put the HUD up, and that's the conductor's radio in my mind, in my imagination, and I can use the handbrake. And then radio to the engineer, letting them know I'm going between, I'm cutting the cars here, and have to call in and tell them, hey, look, it didn't break loose. I have to hit the breaker bar here again to uncouple, and there we go. We should be able to cut loose now. So yeah, even even playing this side of it, the conductor side, I still run into these little everyday things I think real conductors end up having to deal with. Little nuances like that. I get back on the train and ride it here. I don't know if it's legal to ride this side of the train when you got a passing rail on the same side. Maybe, I don't know. But it sure makes for some fun views. I just have to watch my head and don't bang it into anything. Yeah, we're backing on down now, and we'll cut loose these hopper cars off on a different spur. I think I remember watching an old train safety video where the guy was riding the train, and they're talking about things to watch out for, and the guy hit a telephone post or some kind of post while he was riding the back and wasn't looking. And they teach you how to step off. You don't have not to cross your feet. You got to step off with the forward leg first or whatever. And yeah, it's kind of fun. So I had this. Now that I got rid of the tanker cars, we're back on and pick up these. I can't remember now. Let's see what I wanted to do. And that's something I wanted to talk about in the future. One of the things, I noticed, I think Squirrel was talking about this, where there's not much to do. Well, I like switching, so for me, there's plenty to do. And it's a simulator. And not so much a game where you shoot it up, you make points and that kind of stuff. He kind of misses the train sim where there was points and there was that kind of stuff. I'm not sure that I missed that because I don't really ever in the past. I still actually do Train Simulator 2018. There's some trains over in some content I really enjoy doing even still. But to his point, though, it just a lot of people in simulators get bored with just going back and forth and things. But to me, the shunting of cars and the switching aspect is a puzzle. And if you don't, and right now, I mean, we're kind of randomly deciding what to do. But if you have a work order that tells you exactly which cars go where, it can end up being a puzzle because you may have to pull cars in order to place a new one, put some of the empty ones off to the side, put the full ones in, or vice versa. And then if you have a car that hasn't been fully unloaded yet, you may have to pull it to get out of the way and then put it back in place so they can continue to unload it. There's quite a bit of work that could be done. It's really like playing solitaire with moving cars around and grouping all your all the cars into the proper place at the proper doors. And so, to me, there is that kind of a methodical type of pattern that goes on that has to be thought through. It's kind of a mind game, and just like any other kind of puzzle, it could be very challenging, if indeed you have a work order. And that's really, to his point, I think where Dovetail Games could come in and say, hey, look, here's a work order. Work these trains. And they started to do that, I think, back in Train Sim World, not Train Sim World, but Train Simulator, back in like 2015 or 2016 when it came out with the Horseshoe Curve and Pennsylvania route. They actually had some particular items that they wanted you to move back and forth through the yard. And even in Train Sim World, I think they try to do that with the switching in Cumberland. But there could be a lot more of that. And I had thought, well, with these careers I'm putting together, I can make up my own work order ahead of time, and then and work it, and maybe I could do a video on that at some point. And I actually had a similar, something like this done with one of my past videos at Train Sim World in the Cumberland Yard, where I had a small work order. If you go back and look at one of my switching, I kind of did that. But now there's a lot more opportunity to not just do it in the yard, but do it off on these spurs. To give you a better clue and concept, and actually when I did it before, I didn't give you a really good appropriate view of the switch order, and probably can get more of that on the screen, and we could talk it through, so you get an idea of how a switch order looks, how the work order would appear on paper, and how you can go through and think through the puzzle to deliver the cars. Yeah, let's see what else was some criticisms. I think I covered most all of them that I had. I know other people may have others, other than the fact that, I don't know that there's any answer to the fact that you don't see anybody else here. You don't see any cars. You don't see any people walking around. Some people have thrown up their hands and say, I'm never going to do this again. But to me, that's something that's going to have to resolve itself in the future. I don't know what else to say. Frame rates, that's troublesome for me, but I'm using an old laptop. I can't really blame Dovetail Games on that. The Unreal Engine's been fabulous. Oh, Rock'em Bopp'em Robots here. The two boxers here just slammed into each other. And this is another one of the nuances that you have to look out for. And I've talked about this. Is this a bug or a feature? Well, this is actually a feature. Because if you take these two fists, these two knuckle couplers, and you have them in closed fist formation, it's just not gonna go. They're just gonna box each other. So this is pretty fabulous that they're doing this now. And so what we'll need to do is we're going to need to open this up so we can get an automatic couple going on here. And so we need to unlock and open up the hand so these two can shake and grasp each other. And so throw the bar, the hand's open now, and let's see what happens. There we go. So we got that done. We're ready to pull these cars. Oh, by the way, as we talk about this, I originally went to the Steam site and got you can download the manual. and for the CSX heavy haul. But don't forget now, if you do get this downloadable content for there is an operational manual that includes heavy haul and the NEC and the Great Western and the I forgot the name of the one over in Germany, but all the downloadable content is in the operations manual. I have to say though, I'm kind of disappointed. The CSX heavy haul manual has on the like a appendix in the back. It has all the service schedules, and I don't know why in the new operational manual it's quite extensive, but it doesn't have the timetables of all the services, which is kind of nice to have, especially since if we want to run the passenger lines, I would like to have the timetable. But go ahead and go out to Steam and get yourself that operational manual for at no cost. Actually, it's just a PDF. So we're completing our last of our cuts here, and this one's going to go along the building, along the building doors. And actually, with a work order, it would tell you a particular door to drop it off with. Unfortunately, these buildings don't have door numbers, so you kind of have to do a count and have some way of determining which door to bring it to. I'm just kind of moving them down along the side here. And there is one scenario called the New York Switcher. That's actually a free-to-play. The New York Switcher is a free-to-play, just like the Cumberland Yard was in the heavy haul. So besides doing a service like you see me doing here, now it's always wise if you're cutting the engine loose to use the engine or breaker bar or whatever you call that. That way you know the coupler hand on the engine is ready to go couple up to the next thing in line. So there you have it. We delivered all the cars that we brought up from the fresh pond, and now all that we have left is we got the engine. We got to pick up some cars that were along one of the spurs that were here to begin with. So now that we have that, and the engine, the locomotive is by itself, we just use the locomotive brake, the independent brake, since there's no train along the side, behind us. Let's see, anything else that's been a criticism that's bothering, you can post below. I think I covered everything that I had on my mind that I had talked about that I wasn't too happy with. Oh yeah, this is what I wanted to talk about. There was only 6 freight cars with heavy haul, and then they added a couple as downloadable content, and actually now, once you get this Northeast Corridor, you'll get a handful more. Of course, there's a whole bunch. There's freight cars in the UK and the European freight, but over here in the US, as you notice, there's, besides the box car, the tank car, the hopper car, the intermodals, and the auto racks, we now have the garbage cars. So we got the trash cars. And we have a coil car, which you didn't see in these videos. I didn't have any coil cars in here. I don't think they're in the CSX heavy haul, but I did download those, and there's a couple others. So we're starting to see a lot more freight cars. So everything's modern. I think in part 1 I talked about they only had modern diesel engines. Well, that's not true. They only have modern engines. The Actually, some of the passenger engines are electric, using the overhead electric lines. So actually, I'm kind of thinking that I'll at some point, I don't know when, but I'll do a passenger run and do a video of that. Now that we have the New York City and Amtrak. But yeah, so we're starting to see more freight cars available, which is fabulous. Of course, the price on downloadable content is absolutely absurd. People just rant and rave about how crazy it is. I agree. It's almost like to put out an unfinished game and then you got to buy the pieces and you end up spending a ton more. It's like renting the own, you know. You end up spending 4 times much, or even actually at the prices they want for downloadable content, you could spend 100 times more than you would for a full game ready to go. But to be honest with you, with Steam having their holiday sales and they have 60-70% off, sometimes even better, I picked this up at one of those weekend sales and got it for some good. I can't remember. I think it was a 60% off. Here we are. We're coupled up. We're ready to go now, and we can pull these cars out and take them back down to whatever. I would take them back down to Fresh Pond, but that was the first set, and then you can notice now that we're not trailing. We're pushing the cars because we're going to need to push the cars all the way back up to the main line, and then the engine be forward for heading back south through the Bronx, over the Hellgate Bridge, and then finally back through Queens, all the way down to Fresh Pond again to take these cars back home. But that's it for today. I hope you enjoyed listening to my rant, and you may have some thoughts and comments and criticisms that you'd like to post below. And yep, we can't forget that they got open face knuckles there. It's good, and they coupled up fine. Make sure everything looks like it's ready to go here. And okay, then we'll catch you next time.